Okay, there's just one more thing that I should mention, and that is that the Ukrainian army, or this section, I think I have not talked about, and they're in greatest disillusionment with regards to the situation, and they will pay the biggest price. And it is sad, really, that people can be so manipulated in this way, and that they have no sense, and that they feel they're deep in belief that they're fighting for the right cause, and they're not, simply because they will end up, even if they win this, they will maintain the government, which will lead them to such hatred, to even deeper hatred, because they're fighting basically for a country which is a failed state. Whenever a state cannot integrate the people who are worthy and who want to be part of Ukraine, like Russians, some Russians in these provinces were, and they're excluded just because they're Russians. Just like, I mean, every state of this kind, like just like racism in America, these are failed states. This is a failed state, and it even if it was victorious, which even if it will come at a great cost for them. They're not really victorious. They can be victorious because of the steps that were taken even before this war. They should understand that they're fighting a losing battle even if they win, which is very hard to predict, but very unlikely. But the casualties will be huge, and this is the tragedy, is that they could have just let you know this pass over, because it would have. Again, Russia is not interested in their land. Russia is interested in the influence of NATO, and it's not about them at all. They're being sacrificed for for an ideal that they cannot comprehend, and they're trying to protect their freedom of choice. They're allowed. They think they're allowed to choose here, and they are, but they've chosen wrong, because this is not about freedom of Ukraine. This is about freeing Ukraine from the NATO influence. So by backing up that influence, in a sense, they're backing up their influence in the Russian eyes by uh, by going to war and by protecting their land, which is not what Russia is seeing at all. I mean, this is going to be a massive, I think, as it turns out, this is going to turn into a massacre, you know, and but it's not a massacre just because these are soldiers, so they freely choose this. They've chosen this, and they've chosen this way before this conflict. I mean, soldiers choose to do this, to back up politicians which are mad often, and they have no more choice after that. But a lot of the Ukrainians are joining in this battle, and these people still have a choice, and it's tragic that they're choosing the way they do, or are they forced to? This, I think, this comes from like hopelessness that they've lived in, and the fact that Ukraine has not provided for them, and I perhaps they're so poor and so hopeless that they don't care whether they live or die. And this is the actual tragedy of the situation is that these people will die, and I mean Russian soldiers will die, but I mean they chose this again, just like Ukrainian soldiers chose this path, and this again could have all been avoided, and it won't be avoided because nobody's willing to. I mean, nobody will back away from this, as it looks. I mean, Ukrainians are turning out to be the greatest of, you know, they will suffer the greatest consequence. I mean, this is clear, and to do this just to get into European Union and something like this, like, I mean, nobody wants you. I mean, why can't you understand? I mean, European Union will not get into the conflict with them. They're serving you on a plate, and Russia is going to be the one that is going to tear you apart ultimately. I mean, and you may, cause some damage to them. I mean, but in the end, you know how this is. Everybody knows how this is going to end. I mean, if it goes that way, and by being so hard-headed, you just you this could have been avoided. You don't understand. Like, nobody understands what your framework is. I mean, I understand protecting your land and whatnot, and being independent. Independence is, I mean, a principle that is, very high on the scale, but this is not the way to do it. I mean, you will cause your families tragedies. I mean, this thing will end up tragically, from what I can see, and it's going to end up tragically for the Ukrainians. So I feel sorry that you have been pushed into this situation, or I don't know if you have a choice, but you have to know that you do have a choice. And whoever is joining this army is making a wrong choice. I mean, because it is just going to bring you suffering. But obviously you don't care. I mean, you're some land which nobody's going to take is more important than your families, than your children. So you're like pretty much the greatest maniacs that this conflict has. And I think NATO is looking for these kinds of maniacs. I mean, who they found you somewhere. They somehow found this, the little string which makes you crazy, and they're exploiting that string, and you're just leading yourselves to a very, very, to a situation which you won't at all, where nobody will be, nobody will come out of a winner. From your point of view, you are the greatest losers here, even if you win, which, so even if you were to beat the Russians. So because, you fought for the wrong cause, you fought for the wrong country, you fought for the wrong president. It's just not worth it. I can't believe that you're entering this. You guys are like suicidal. That's pretty much what I want to say.